Welcome, everyone. I am here with the beautiful Candice. We only just recently connected online, and this is the first time we actually are here face to face. And I'm so excited to hear a bit more about your story, about leaving your 9 to 5 in Canada and finding a life of purpose and passion and fulfillment in Bali. So if you could start with telling us a bit about your story and what took you to Bali in the first place, that'd be wonderful.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. Well, I'm from Vancouver, Canada initially, and even at a very, very young age, even as a child, I was completely obsessed with other cultures and travel. And, I had stacks of books on ancient Egypt and ancient Rome and Africa, and I was just so intrigued by the world, and I had such a wanderlust at even a small age. And I was also a very, very sensitive child. So I was often told, oh, you're so sensitive, or you're too sensitive, you need to be a little bit tougher. So unfortunately, what happened, like over the years, I really turned my sensitivity off, and I became very much somebody who did what I was told. I did what was expected of me. Like in terms of how my life evolved, I did everything that you're supposed to do. So, I went to school, I got good grades, I went to college, and then I started my corporate career. So I had a lot of jobs that seemed okay on the outside. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, you must be so happy! What a wonderful job you have!" And I was just doing all the things that you were supposed to do. But on the inside, I was so miserable. All I wanted to do was travel. All I wanted to do was feel free. And, being stuck in I felt like I was in chains, working in a little cubicle, being told when I had to be there, when I could eat my lunch, when I could go home, and then having those 2 days off on the weekends and scrambling and trying to get all of, the real life things done, such as laundry and grocery shopping. And it all just felt so wrong. I just felt like I completely lost who I was. And
Yeah.
I really did, I was just betraying my own soul. Like I wanted to be free, and I wanted to explore other cultures, and I wanted to make an impact and help people. And I felt like I was just pushing paper around all day for somebody else's gain. And it was really quite soul destroying. I just fell into a very, very dark time in my life where I didn't know who I was. So a catalyst to me ending up in Bali was about 10 years ago. I did get out of the rat race for a short period of time, and I became an English teacher in Thailand. And that really lit me up, because it was a culture that I loved. It was, everything about living in Thailand made me feel at home. It's very community based. I was making an impact. I was helping little children learn English, and just seeing them evolve and light up, once they had accomplished things. It just gave me a huge sense of fulfillment. And on the school holidays, I was able to do a bit of traveling, and I always came to Bali. And I know your story is a bit similar too. It was always Ubud. I never really spent much time down south or in any other parts of Bali. There was something about Ubud that just called me. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this, because as soon as my feet touched the ground, when I landed on this island, it was this rush of just this knowing that I had been called to this place for a reason. It actually makes me a little emotional, because it's a place that's so dear to me, and it's just changed everything. So just back up a little bit. So I first discovered Ubud when I was living in Thailand, but unfortunately, at that point in time, the salaries were very low, and I was having a really hard time supporting myself on that income. So I did have to come back to Canada. But I swore to myself, okay, I'm going to need to work in an office for a short period of time, but I'm going to find my way out. I'm not going to do this anymore, because I saw what was on the other side. I saw the happiness and fulfillment that was possible when I really listened to my heart. So I did a lot of researching and I did a lot of inner work, to really get clear on my value systems and what I really wanted, and not just what my parents wanted for me or what society wanted for me. I got clear on what I, Candace, really wanted. And then my whole world started to change. I started to realize that my sensitivities and, being an empathic person was actually a huge gift, and it allowed me to connect to
Yeah.
people on a deeper level. So all these wonderful things started to happen. And then I found myself in a entrepreneurship community that taught me all the skills that I needed to start earning an income online. And I remember when I made my very first little bit of money online, it was like this massive celebration for me because, it proved to me that I could do it, that I could create a life that was in alignment with me. And I didn't have to follow what society told me. I could create something else. So I created an online business that was location independent, and that allowed me to come here to Bali. And yeah, it's a bit long-winded, but that's how I come here, just by really following my heart and having the courage to do something different.
Wow, wow, it's such a courageous journey. And I relate to this on so many levels. And what a celebration! What a celebration of you and your truth and your soul essence, that you didn't compromise, but you ultimately continue to believe in finding a way to make this happen for yourself. And so, such an inspiration, truly.
Thank you.
And you talked about, how important it is to live that life from, your heart, from your truth. Um, why do you feel that has been your major drive, and ultimately also, I guess, the motivation for you to not give up despite some challenges on your path, but to continue to be focused and determined on the vision that you wanted to create for yourself?
That's a great question. Well, I think it was just, there were struggles. Like whenever you're starting something new, you come across bumps in the road. So, building a business online when I had no experience, I had a lot to learn. But what really kept me going and what really kept me focused was just knowing, like really believing in myself and knowing that if I just kept taking those steps towards my ultimate destination, which was freedom and Bali, I knew I would get there eventually. And just having full faith and trust that if I showed up and did the work, that what I wanted would materialize. And it did. And, there were so many times in my life where I didn't listen to my intuition and I didn't honor my sensitivities. And when we're not true to ourselves, I find the universe creates a lot of resistance, and it can be extremely painful. And I know your story is quite similar. When we're not following our heart and we're not following our truth, the universe wants us. It wants us to be fulfilled. It wants us to be on our path. It wants us to really express the life we came here to live. So when we don't, when we kind of make ourselves fit into a place we don't really belong, we really, really suffer. So that, I think, is the biggest reason why I stayed the course, was that I had to, because if I didn't, I was just so desperately unhappy. So
Yes. Oh, I hear you fully. Beautiful. And as I said, so courageous and inspiring. On that note, have you had anyone in particular that inspired you to stay the track? And even when things seemed insurmountable, or when you felt lost on that journey, that you could, draw strength from?
yeah, there's quite a few people that have inspired me, actually. But I think a big part of my journey online is also just really speaking my truth and being very raw and vulnerable and sharing some things that are quite personal. But that's what creates connection, and that's what really creates a ripple effect when people can relate to your story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what comes to mind is like someone like Danielle Laporte, who's another Canadian, and she just, her writing is so exquisite from my perspective, because she just shares her truth unapologetically, and she just shows up every day and she shares from her heart. And that's what's really given her the huge success from my perspective anyway. She just really inspired me to embrace my sensitivity, embrace my own ideas of what was right for me, and not my parents and not my teachers and not, what society told me to do, and to really just step into my truth and bear it all. And that's what's really helped me along this path.
Beautiful. I love Daniela Port as well, personally. Yeah, she is such an inspiration. Yeah, and to also know that you don't have to figure it all out yourself, right? There's people who have paved the way before us, and that can be a major inspiration in finding our own way as well, and waking up to new gifts that we didn't even know we had until we open up to that exploration. So very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
As a last question, what advice would you give to someone who is very much in a position that you found yourself in many years ago? Stuck in the rat race, or in the mold, or possibly in a corporate job and having their soul crushed. What are some tips, or what wisdom do you have for them to start this journey of freedom?
That's such a great question. I think the biggest thing is, and I wish I was told this a long time ago, there's nothing wrong with you. So if you're in an environment, or a job, or whatever the case may be, where you just feel like it's just not you, you're very, very unhappy, every fiber of your being is screaming, no, this isn't why I'm here, to really listen to that, and just to know in your heart that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you for wanting something different. And if you're being met with a lot of resistance, and through my work, I talk to people every day who are very much trapped in these jobs, or sometimes it's a relationship, or whatever it is, and they just feel completely trapped, and they beat themselves up for wanting something different. And they go, oh, how come, my sister is so happy in her office job, or, why is my brother so happy, doing this or that or whatever. People compare themselves to everybody else, and they really beat themselves up and think that there's something wrong with them for not wanting that also. And the biggest realization that I had was, there is nothing wrong with me. And my sensitivities, and the fact that I didn't belong in the 9-to-5 world, was actually my greatest strength. It was my greatest gift. And it's what led me to the path I was always supposed to be on, which is being of service and living in an environment that is conducive to my soul. So there is nothing wrong with you if you feel like you just don't belong in the current space that you're in. So I think that's the biggest thing.
So powerful. And what a powerful awakening you had in realizing that, and now inspiring others to awaken to that truth as well. Wow. Wow, I'm so honored to have been able to share this time with you, and listen to your inspiring journey, and the way that you have chosen to create a life on your terms, and to not settle for anything less, but a life of true joy and alignment and freedom and abundance. And so thank you so much for being with us today, and I look forward to connecting soon.
Me too. Thank you so much, Esther.